So in our next session, we're going to talk about the incredible efforts that are taking place across the country with students and teaching them about our food and agriculture systems and empowering youth, along with a film that's really documenting a lot of this work. So to set up the conversation, we're going to watch the trailer for Generation Growth. And while that plays, let me invite up Stephen Ritz, who is an educator, urban farmer, and activist, to sit by me.
I'm planting cucumbers. I'm planting basil.
Me too. I'm planting basil.
Do you like basil?
I've never had it.
Hello? Good morning, good morning. You go in my classroom and you ask children where do they get their food. They say the gas station, the drugstore. That's appalling to me that children are shopping for food in a drugstore. We're seeing all kinds of health anomalies in communities of poverty.
You got the bodegas with 5 different types of pork rinds, but no fresh fruit.
There's a strong linkage between having poor diet, having poor health outcomes, and then just affecting your quality of life across so many different dimensions.
Zip code and skin color should not determine outcomes in life. I'm out to change that. Hello, Toledo! How many of you would be excited about having a tower garden in your school? I had this vision. I could teach children if I put this magical garden in the middle of a classroom and built school around it.
Yeah! Stephen Ritz and his Green Bronx machine are opening young minds to science, nutrition, and wellness.
When you cultivate a palate, you are changing the trajectory of those children's lives and taste buds forever. You like the lettuce?
Yeah, I like the lettuce.
For me, the greatest resource in the world is the untapped potential in communities like mine.
Parents are sending us their best kids. They're not keeping the good ones at home.
Can you put the chair down? Can you put your arms through your shirt? Maybe that'll help bring some brain power.
I hope my son can see past the hood. When he comes home, he tells me about the garden or what he's tried and what we should try. He has 1,000,001 suggestions.
What's happening in the inner city and beyond, a lot of that has to do with food, period.
Children want to be engaged and involved in something. So sometimes you gotta pull a little magic out of the hat.
You can hug it, but not too tight.
My favorite subject is science. I'm a quick thinker. You're getting long right now.
How did you do today?
Good.
All right, Lord.
I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally depleted. But my heart is full.
Oh my God.
Once you see it the first time, you're inspired. But the fact that you keep seeing it over and over again, how lives are being changed, then you're motivated. Something special's happening here.
This is how change happens. Access to healthy food, one person, one community at a time.
You can't rush growth. You can't go from seed to harvest without care and cultivation in the middle.
So, Stephen, why was it important to document the work of Green Bronx Machine in film?
Well, you know, the whole thing happened as an accident, and I think this very moment that we're in today speaks to it, is simply this. The most important school supply in the world is food, and children will never be well read if they're not well fed. So at this moment in our nation's history where public education is possibly the greatest lever we will have towards equity and equality, making sure kids are well-fed, well-nourished, and on the good side of health is really absolutely important. And the whole thing was an accident, how the whole thing started.
So tell me more about this accident.
Well, you know, we never expected to have a film, that's for sure. And to think that people were genuinely curious to see what we were doing, you know, I'm an absolute accidental success. And, you know, if you were to tell me that a single program that cost $6,000 into perpetuity could transform school performance, teacher satisfaction, social determinants of health, test scores, and attendance in marginalized communities, I would think I'm not growing vegetables, but something else. But 1,000 schools later across the country, you know, these schools outperform their peer index neighbors by 10 or more percentage points in all areas of school in performance. I mean, look, I was listening to you talk, and remember, we had a young man whose mom never heard him speak. Came to school when something happened, he shut down. And our food waste warrior, little Aaron, went through all of elementary school and never spoke. And the first time his mom heard him speak was in our class after Danny gave him an award, because our stories are our ladders to success. And the bottom line is, you know, for far too long, communities like mine have kind of been exploited. We've seen, you know, the hearts, the bellies and the wallets of the affluent get filled off the heartache and dysfunction of communities like mine. And this film shows one thing, that if you give people some support, some love, and some boundaries to stay within the guides, amazing things happen, particularly in public schools.
Yeah.
And tying food to public schools. I mean, now in my community, we have hundreds of kids in my school in the middle of the South Bronx who are vegans. Now think about what that means for the planet when they're not going to McDonald's. Think about what it means on so many levels. So it couldn't be more important, and we're just so grateful for the opportunity to tell our story. So please see the film.
See the film.
You'll love it, yeah.
I also want to ask you, you said that the most important school supply is food. How do we convince the higher ups that is the most important school supply, that it's not pencils, although they need them too?
They need pencils for sure. But how do you do it? By teaching kids to grow food in school. And that's the real key. And, you know, my work started with overage, undercredited kids who were in and out of prison, kids who were selling drugs. And our first big break was Whole Foods, when we started selling our food at Whole Foods that we were growing. And I got in trouble with the Board of Ed, you know, for the talk called From Crack to Cucumbers, where I brought 30 kids down who used to sell heroin who are now working for Whole Foods. And this city was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, who's in your prison? It's not the people who are buying the good food. But when you teach kids at a young age to grow food, it teaches them everything. And the technology exists now to do that. And think about when you guys were young, that little lima bean that you put in a plastic bag. These kids show up. They want to see their plants grow. So many kids have what I call nature deficit disorder. They don't even know where things, much less food, comes from. So to be able to take a teeny tiny seed and put it in your classroom and grow it into something great that you can eat and share and sell, it's amazing, and that's where it really starts. It starts with kids, it starts with classrooms. You know, Lakeisha and Julia hit it right on the head. That's where it starts. And we have this obligation and the ability to do it now more than ever. It's remarkable.
The responsibility is really there for a lot of teachers. How do you encourage other teachers to take on that responsibility?
Well, you got to make it simple. You've got to build something that's scalable and replicable. And let me be clear, you know, I've been asked to work and graduate elsewhere throughout my career. I was kind of like the MacGyver of indoor gardening, but once we figured out how you can make it simple, scalable, replicable, and low cost, and then two things, align it to academic outcomes.
Yeah.
Listen, of course I want to see kids eating healthy, but at the end of the day, I'm a school leader, and with a failing school, I got to worry about test scores and attendance. But when you can tie those things together, that's the get-out-of-jail-free card. And we've been able to do that. I mean, we have kids now going to HBSU. It's just nuts to see what has happened through this program. And the film is doing a great job. In fact, we have some kids in Appalachia, and we wound up in Appalachia. These were kids who were addicted, felons, and homeless, and in and out of the criminal justice system. And we wound up building them a greenhouse, and I thought that they would just love growing food. We now sell food to 11 supermarkets across Appalachia, and these kids are making living wage because no one's going to get rich on minimum wage in the middle of Appalachia. So there's a new movement and a new moment, and we're all part of it. And I thank you, Danny, for just championing all of it.
Thank you. What I love about you is that you show that there's opportunity in food, and there's opportunity in these areas that people think of as, you know, marginalized and poor, and where there is no hope. Food gives that opportunity.
Listen, the greatest natural resource in the world is the talent that exists in communities like mine, in low status, in marginalized communities where we are so far removed from success, and everything is built and predicated upon preventing us from having it. But when you grow food and you create opportunity, food is the most important thing in the world, and especially now with the food is medicine movement. When you look at how many kids are obese, when you look at the social determinants of health, the onset of childhood puberty, the amount of diabetes, and a bulk of that, we can get ahead of that on the curve by giving kids access to healthy food. Listen, I can sit in the cafeteria and tell kids to eat the bean burrito all day, and they're going to look at me and go, Mr. Ritz, pick the finger. But when the little kids themselves grow it and they're advocating for, hey, try this, guys, they do it. And if they try it, they like it. I mean, I have kids who genuinely love kale. Kale is the new normal in my classroom. It's amazing to see it, and everybody can grow it.
Are you surprised about the reaction that the film is getting in different cities?
Well, you know, the film, people love the film, so I'm not surprised because it's genuine. And who doesn't want to see children thrive? You know, if you don't enjoy seeing children thrive, there's probably something else you should be doing with your time besides seeing our film. But what's happened is even the woman, Miss Poland, and, you know, we're doing a Miss Poland Day in Ohio. Miss Poland is one of those teachers who just was really struggling. Tough kids, tough times. Her class is producing thousands and thousands of pounds of food. We had teachers who were struggling to keep their job, who are now, we have in Ohio, Teacher of the Year, you know, model schools presenters. And it's entirely possible because when you create a culture of growth, it's a real growth mindset, not only plants, culture, and community, but this whole notion of nurturing each other, of being part of a living, breathing ecosystem. And when kids from the South Bronx or the South Side of Chicago or parts of Baltimore or Philly understand that the water that falls from the heavens is the water that's in their toilet bowls, is the water that they're wasting when they're running fire hydrants, is also the water that feeds their plants, man, things change. And, you know, we're growing the next generation of environmental and social justice warriors, and that's what I love, who are also eating better along the way. So it's been remarkable.
And you already touched on this, but you're not only creating that next generation, you're helping teachers enjoy their jobs again.
Oh, without a doubt. Listen, it has never been harder to be a teacher in America than it has been today. But when you have something that is living and thriving in your class and kids tend to it, and you surround it with materials and resources that are free, accessible, and genuinely exciting, you know, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's really hard as a teacher to sit down in a classroom with a dozen Dunkin' Donuts at your desk because there's nothing else to eat in the communities you work in when you have this beautiful garden growing in your classroom. So it creates this culture of excitement, of nature, of nurture, of beauty. And it's been game-changing.
Yeah. The game-changing part that I think is really interesting about you is that you started this in the Bronx, but you travel all over the world sort of spreading this message.
Well, yeah, let me be clear. You know, I think there's a South Bronx in every city in America and around the world. So let me be clear about that. And I've never seen any child go to school to fail. Like, you know, but on the flip side is no one rises to low expectations. So I had to set a bar for myself, and it hasn't been easy. I've been asked to work elsewhere. Let me be clear about that. But 300,000 kids later, 10,000 teachers later, you know, kids at the White House, kids who are going to college for free, kids who aren't, you know, on insulin. I'm going to do what I got to do. And, you know, if I'm not pissing people off, I'm not working hard enough. So, you know, I'm not willing to accept what I can't change. I'm going to change what I can accept. And a lot of that has to do with the present outcomes in public education and the status of health in communities like mine. So the flip side is wealthy communities have really resonated. And, you know, I have a Tom's Buy One Free model. I have kids in Dubai supporting kids in the South Bronx. I have kids, you know, we doing this and connecting, and kids are coming together around growing food, around being climate refugees instead of, you know, who really gives a damn about the Kardashians? I don't. I know. I want kids to be their own hero. And growing your food and feeding your community and being financially independent is the greatest way in the world to be your own hero.
Absolutely. Round of applause for that, please. So there's an action campaign involved with this film, and you want people to take certain things away from it. Can you sort of give us that to-do list?
Yeah, so, we're learning this how to fly this plane as it goes. We got the film. People love the film. So then we built, and we had a huge cash offer on the film, but I didn't want to sell the film. What I wanted to do is kind of create this groundswell and make it accessible to teachers and community centers. So we got a company to sponsor us to help us build out a website. And on that website are all sorts of free resources, state by state, grant portals, so that teachers could plug in and get more. And then we started kids like to get behind something. So we started what we call the Healthy Student Pledge. And the Healthy Student Pledge is kids want to be part of a movement. And, I was listening before. Kids want to save the world. You want to have kids excited about garbage? Talk to them about garbage. Every child wanted to be a garbage man at some point. When you teach them what to do with their garbage, they get excited about it. So we started a Healthy Student Pledge. And the pledge centers around a couple of things. Now, I could have gone really deep, but I didn't go as deep as some people thought I would, but what I wanted to do is be inclusive. So number one, we asked kids to share the film, and they love sharing the film because they feel like they're little celebrities. Number two, we asked them to advocate for healthy food in their schools. Is that too much to ask? We just advocate for healthy food. I think that's a good place to start. We advocate for the consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables. I didn't go after meat. I didn't go after dairy. I said, let's consume more fresh fruits and vegetables. Everybody said yes. Drink water. We can do that too. And then it was, can we be kind to the planet? Can we stop food waste and look at where our food comes from and eat seasonally? And kids really got behind that because children really do want to save the world. They just need small, actionable steps. And then we started with 3 other really big tasks. We asked children, can you be kind to yourself? And they were like, yeah, I can do that. Can you be kind to each other? Why not? And can you be kind to the planet? And when kids understand that being kind to the planet, and if you want to change the world, starts by looking at what is on the tip of your fork, then you have them right where you want them. And it's taken off around the world.
Yeah,
so the Healthy Student Pledge, I think it's on the website. You can check it out. It's on the film website, generationgrowthfilm.com. It's a lot of fun. Teachers are using it. Corporations are using it. We're having kids go into corporations and teach them how to bring your child to work and create a healthy meal. Google's been a great champion of ours. So slowly but surely, and I think Julia said it best, wherever she is in the room. I can't see without, there she is without my goggles on. Bite, 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 Chief Procurement Officer, in our class, there are certain things that are contraband, and that's junk food.
Selfishly, because I live in Baltimore, you're doing some exciting things that are about to happen. Can you talk about that?
Sure. We are taking on 25 schools in Baltimore, inner city Baltimore, and I got funded. And remarkably, we couldn't even find teachers at the beginning of the school year. And it's important for people to understand the crisis that exists in public education today. There are children in communities that are literally being warehoused because we don't have enough teachers. And I couldn't find 25 teachers, but once we found 25 teachers in 25 schools, wow, they are so on board. The teachers are all in. We're going to be building some gardens, both community gardens, converting empty greenhouses, but we have teachers who are really excited about pedagogy. And, let me be clear, at the end of the film, there's a young man shaking his baby. That young man was an immigrant to this country. He was in the foster care system, and he was found at age 13 living in an abandoned building. He came here from Africa, where he used to hunt for food himself. He's now working for Whole Foods as a butcher. It's like when you understand the trajectory of what the good food movement can do for communities like mine and for everybody, instead of, imagine if we refreshed our soil the way we're told in our community to refresh our computer screens. Imagine if kids wanted to pay for food the way they wanted to pay for a pair of Air Jordans. Wouldn't that change the entire economy and trajectory of the world? And that's literally what we're doing. So it's been exciting.
It's really exciting. I feel like this is a different, this room really grew while I was just centered on Stephen. I feel like this is a different audience than you usually speak to. We have filmmakers, we have I know you talk to storytellers all the time, we have businesses. What's your call to action for everyone who's an adult in this room?
Oh, boy. Well, please go see the film. Number one, go check out the website and see the film. But it's simple. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start in order to be great. And, you know, my backstory is, listen, I was 350 pounds 12 years ago. I have children in public school who have never seen me drink a soda, eat a hamburger. So I hold myself accountable, and I think, you know, film allows you to do that, but showing up each and every day allows you to do that. And, you know, I'm just grateful for the work that I'm able to do. But, you know, on a personal level, Green Bronx Machine is always looking for partners and board members. You know, we're an accidental success, so please, I'm here. And I want people to grow something greater with me. You know, whether you're a rich community or a poor community, all of us benefit when we eat healthy, responsibly sourced food. And that's my message. You know, you start with one thing, and amazing things happen.
And you made that happen. Green Bronx Machine is a success.
Big thanks to Danny and Bernie and, you know, so many champions. We're in this together. Thank you. We're all in this together.
And watch generation growth. You have to. It's amazing.
Please do.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank
Give him
you
a big round
kindly.
of applause.